We are in LA, Michael and I, and we are going to be going to a special event in LA tomorrow that I can't really talk about. Today we're driving down south of LA, and if you know the area, obviously you can probably guess where we're going. But again, I don't want to talk about that yet. But while we're here, we need wheels, and who wants to rent an internal combustion engine car? So what we did was we decided to rent a Tesla Model 3 long range. Now, it's Michael's first time in a Tesla. He has not driven it yet, although he's allowed to drive it because he's an employee of the company. We do want to talk about a couple of things before I hit the road, and then I'm going to drive and you can ask Michael all the questions as we're going. So this is a Tesla Model 3 long range, and I can just show you outside really quickly. Let me just open the front. Yeah, just for a second, because people are asking. So Tesla Model 3 long range, just so that you are all aware. So it's very dirty on the outside, as we noted, but that might be because there's a drought going on. There's plenty of room here for luggage. Now, this is new as far as I'm aware. I have not seen a Tesla before with this particular kind of ruggedized look. I do not know if this is a Tesla specific thing for Hertz or if it's just a new Tesla thing. Because I'll be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time around the newest of Model 3s and Model Ys. Obviously, I've driven Winter's Model 3. But that's an interesting pointer. The other thing that's really important to note is that even though this Hertz rental has it set in the dash so that if you walk away it should auto lock, it doesn't because you're using a key fob. So, and if you are a Tesla owner, you already know this, you have to lock it by holding it against the door, right? It took us a while. We had to actually ring Winter up to ask the question, but you know, it's not a fancy long range, it's just a standard dual motor long range. We managed to fit 2 flight cases in, Michael's flight case, and then behind it my flight case, or one of the Transport Evolved flight cases. Obviously, because it's a newer Model 3, it's got the nice automatic closing tailgate. Let's take it. Let's get in. Let's take it for a ride, and we'll talk to you about the experience. So, right now, I'm going to give Michael the power cable because my phone is running a bit low on juice. But in order to start it again, you don't get to use an app like you would if you usually had a Tesla. You have to put the key fob down behind. Everything else is pretty standard. Excuse me. Everything else is pretty standard, and I'm very impressed with some of the improvements that this car has that Winter's doesn't. I think the fit, finish and trim is a little bit better. I'm also really liking these cameras, which I don't think Winter has set up on his. Maybe he does and I've not tried it, or maybe he has and I've forgotten it. But I really like how this allows you to see as you're backing out. It does the tip down mirrors, which is something that Teslas have done for a long time. But it does mean that we're able to very easily kind of get on our way and follow our route, and there's very little in the way of worry. And in terms of cost, I think this worked out to basically like $150 for a couple of days. Was a bit more expensive than that, if truth be known, but it wasn't the absolute worst. I'm gonna let that bus go past, and then we need to swing around and head back on 1, so I'm gonna do a loop there. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, Michael.
Not yet.
If you have questions, Shout them at Michael. He hasn't done a whole lot of live streams before. Oh, I also like this, which is wonderful. This is something that a lot of cars have done for a long time. They allow you to see what's going on behind you by displaying the rear view mirror, and I really like that in terms of looks. So I'm just going to do a little loop-de-loop here. I will admit I'm driving this very gingerly because it's a rental car, and also because whoever drove it before us absolutely hammered it. Like, we got in it and it said less than 200 miles, right, Michael?
It was 194 miles.
194 miles. It now says 307, and we've driven it, what, an hour?
If that.
So clearly, the last person to drive this was taking the Michael.
Someone asked, does it have FSD, and how do you unlock it?
You unlock it the same as you lock it. You hold the key fob up. It doesn't have FSD. It does have the FSD visualizations. Now, obviously, for the benefit of Hertz's rental fleet, I think it would be a real nightmare if Hertz and Tesla had decided to put FSD beta on these, because most people treat rental cars like poop, and I think you would have to really trust whoever was driving your fleet car in order to get it to operate in FSD beta. So what you do have instead is Autopilot. So enhanced Autopilot, and I'm adding too much torque to the steering wheel, which is something I've always had an issue with on Tesla's system. Is if you put too much torque on the steering wheel, it gets upset. The other thing I don't like is we're coming up to a car now and it's braking very late, which is, again, something I've never found particularly pleasant. I know it will work, I know it's safe, but at the same point, I would much rather it had started braking back there. Partly because meat sacks take longer to slow down, unless you have a real kind of really aggressive driver, and maybe that would be slightly different. But this is it feels much more quiet than Winter's Model 3. And, you know, full disclaimer, Winter has a much older Model 3. This one's got like 2,000 miles on the clock. But it seems like it's as a rental car, it's a wonderful, pleasant experience. The criticisms I have so far for Hertz is that the car was a bit dirty. Nothing that, you know, some sanitizing wipes wouldn't fix. Good side, the good news is most of the folks inside the Hertz facility were masked because it was on federal property, and so it's a requirement still. We had not one, not two, but 3 different Hertz employees kind of wander by while we were just, you know, putting stuff in the car and go, hey, are you okay? Do you understand how a Tesla works? Do you need any help? And the whole unlocking by putting the card on the door was something that effectively, had we said no, can you help us, they probably would have just told us it. It's just something that I've spent enough time around Tesla that I don't know any Tesla owners that lock and unlock their car like that. They use their phone, right? They use their phone as a key, or they have the actual key fob, and they program it to do the whole auto lock and walk away.
Someone asked, does it have a supercharger?
Yeah, so really cool thing, and don't worry, if there is time, and I say if because Michael's holding the camera and he might kill me if I commit to making this, although it's on the company Trello card, Michael, there's a Trello card for it on the Trello board. We are hopefully going to get to try out supercharging with it. It's going to be obviously the latest supercharger compatible charging speeds. So it should be relatively quick if we empty the battery. I don't think we're going to fully empty the battery, which is a bit of a shame. But let's see how long we're south, and we might take it for a bit of a drive later. But to make it simple, you get a charge cable when you pick the car up. There's one in the subfloor in the back, and they checked to make sure it was there. They also then check to make sure that you understand how to use a supercharger. If you turn up at a supercharger, the supercharger experience is as seamless as it would be if you were a Tesla owner. The difference being, if you're a Tesla owner and you have a Tesla account, the car is obviously connected to your Tesla account, and you will be automatically billed by Tesla for the power that you use. Now, you don't have to get a Tesla account to use this car, to rent this car, because what Hertz does is Hertz has all of the cars on its fleet associated with a corporate account, and it automatically bills you on the credit card that you rented the car from. It will automatically bill you for however much your charging was worth. So you pull up at a supercharger, you plug in, you charge. At the end of your rental period, however much money you have spent on electricity at a supercharger station is automatically added to your bill, which feels a really nice way of doing it. I'm not gonna lie, I really like that in terms of simplicity, and I think a lot of people, just as a side note, we're coming through, we've just gone through, just gone over the Orange County line. We are heading down the one down to Diego. The waterproof version, and the answer is yes. It's a version which I'd not seen before, but actually looks really quite robust. I quite like that. This is a much better car. Much better car. Sorry, Winter. This is a much better car than Glyph. It's tighter. It feels there's less rattles, less squeaks. Now, granted, Winter's car is a lot older than this, but this is a really well finished car. There hasn't been anything really that's niggled me. Everything seems to be working, which is good. The autopilot seems to be working. There's a Fiat 500e, orange. And everything seems to be as you would expect. Obviously, this is as glitchy as it always is. It identified we went through a drive-through because we didn't have breakfast before we left. It identified a billboard as a truck, which was quite amusing. It's been very accurate with the traffic lights. Obviously, because it's got autopilot and not full self-driving, it does not react to traffic lights. It detects them. It detects stop signs and all of that, but it doesn't really do anything else. So you have to still remain on the ball all the time. And I think eventually a lot of people are going to be like, how do I get behind the wheel of one of these through Hertz? You just have to find a Hertz dealership that's got some on fleet. We could have had a standard range. I opted for the long range because I didn't worry about charging so much, and obviously it's a dual motor, which means it's got a little bit more oomph. I don't know if they're doing rear-wheel drive standard range or not, but yeah, these are basically not special Hertz Teslas. It's not like Toyota, for example, has a special fleet version of the Prius that it makes and sells just to fleets. You cannot buy one as a private individual, but if you are a fleet customer, you can order them. They're lower spec, they have less bells and whistles, and they have things like satellite radio and navigation that you can upsell the customer on if you're a rental company. In this case, this is pretty much as close as you're going to get. Spotted the cyclists. This is as pretty close as you're going to get to a a regular Tesla that you would have bought from Tesla, from a Tesla showroom.
Someone asked how the experience was renting the Tesla, and if you played coy with what you knew about it.
It was kind of funny actually, because I wanted to do everything online, and I didn't actually have a Hertz account because previously I'd used Enterprise, because Enterprises have a lot of EVs. There's a recumbent up in front, and I love recumbents. I think they're awesome. Always wanted a recumbent bicycle. Sorry, I'm being a bit of a squirrel. So the experience of renting this through Hertz was really simple. You can reserve it through the app. You can pick to pay when you pick up, or you can prepay. Normally, if you prepay, you get a discount. The only kind of fly in the ointment for me was I had to. I went through the verification on the phone on the app because I didn't want to go through the whole going into the Tesla, into the Hertz location and standing in line and interacting with people, because I don't like people. But because it was my first time with a company account, I do have an old private one, but I wanted to do it as a company account. They wanted to see my driving license, they wanted to see my Amex. I had to show my Amex like 3 times, which is interesting. And when we went to pick the car up, we went to the counter, the guy looked at me, I can see you know how to use a Tesla. Because if you look, I'm wearing one of the Tesla Evolved t-shirts. I think this is a Model X on here. And I just joked, I just laughed and said, yeah, I've spent several thousand miles behind the wheel of one in my time. So I didn't really play coy. I felt at that point it was a bit dickish to do so. But I didn't get any special treatment, I didn't get a special rent. Hertz doesn't know I'm making this video. So we'll probably send them a link once this video is up, once you've done a better video about this experience. And we will take it from there, I guess. The whole experience was very simple, very easy, with a gas car, because they didn't ask me if I wanted to bring the car back full or prepay fuel. It's just like, you're gonna charge it up.
On that, somebody asked, what is the charge state when you return it?
I read on the Hertz website before I left that it has to be back with 10%. The guy I spoke to at the counter seemed to think it needed to be back with the same state of charge that I left with, which would mean 90%. But I think as long as we take it back with a decent amount of charge, they're not going to be funny about it. I think the TLDR is, as long as you don't bring the car back completely empty, because if you think about it, most rental companies have gas pumps, the bigger ones at the airports. They'll either have a gas pump on site, or they'll have one nearby that they've got an account with that they'll go to, and they can fill the car back up even if the customer's left it empty. They'll charge the customer an arm and a leg to do so, but the car can then go straight back out again. If I bring this back and it's empty, then this car can't go anywhere. It can maybe drive to a supercharger, but then that employee has to sit at a supercharger a period of time that it would take them to fill it up with gasoline. And so I suspect, there's a Ukrainian flag, I suspect that most people are going to want to bring it back fairly close to full. I don't think they are penalising you right now. I can see the sea. There's some oil tankers out at here. Certainly beats.
Looks like we're reconnected.
Okay, so there you have it. I'm now in auto steer. I've got auto steer engaged. We've got cones on the right. Winter's Model 3, but you know what? It's still doing that Winter's car does, which it hugs the left too much. And so I've turned off Autopilot a couple of times just by wanting to nudge the car to more towards more of the center position in the lane. And I wish that Tesla would change that. That is a bugbear of mine. I'm also aware that Elon Musk has been saying things on Twitter. I just wanted to attach that to this live stream as an acknowledgement that we know it's going on. We're not necessarily going to deal with it today. Sorry, the lights changed and Autopilot was quite happily following the car in front. And I knew that if I didn't stop, the car would just barrel through the red light, which obviously I don't want. Now I've set this up obviously with my personal preferences for driving. So I've got creep mode turned off. I've got hold mode turned on. Let me show you. I've got comfort steering, just so that you are aware. And obviously I've got the chill acceleration. I think it was standard previously, but I actually like it in chill mode. I'm not a huge, I'm not all about flat to the floor driving. I never really have been. Not on a public highway, especially not when I don't know the roads and it's not my car. So that's why I'm driving this very gingerly. So there you have it. There is a video that you should go and watch that went live this morning, very early, because what time did we have to get up this morning, Michael?
Like 2-3 a.m.
I got up at 2:30, although it was closer to 2, because I drove from my house to Michael's house to pick up Michael to drive to the airport. We got to the airport before 10, and then we had to be on the plane at 5:20, and so, yeah. I'm starting to feel tired. I don't mind admitting, and it's only noon. But this does mean we get to film something very cool in San Diego, and then we're driving back up to LA tonight, and then tomorrow we're doing our top secret thing. Look at that beach, and look at those ships out to sea, just stacked up. And there's some oil tankers out there as well. This is certainly the weather that we had in Portland this morning. It was not pleasant in Portland this morning. It was raining and cold and a bit air. So this is much nicer. It really is. So we're coming up on Huntington. This is Huntington that we're in now. So most people are very, very, I would suspect there's lots of very wealthy people. There'll be lots of fancy cars, and I'm sure we'll see lots of Porsche Taycans and probably a Lucid Air or two, and maybe even a Hummer. So we'll keep our eyes out. In addition to, of course, all the Teslas. We'll have to see how many cars we see. Let us know in the comments how many different types of electric car you think we're going to see on our trip, and we'll try and keep a mental note. Until next time, go watch the video that featuring Winter that was published very early this morning. That is the Ford F100 Custom Current Illuminator. And then today, if you are a Patreon supporter or you are a YouTube member, you can go ahead and watch Winter talking about... Is it Winter today? No, it's Kate. Kate talking about electric vehicles and your health. And if you're not a Patreon supporter or a YouTube member, you'll get to see that one tomorrow. And we've got some other cool BMW videos coming this week. And hopefully some more content from this trip. We've talked about maybe making 2, 3, 4 videos. And then we've got some more trip planning to do. And I cannot talk about what is happening, but we've got a very exciting last minute trip planned that's going to involve everybody on the team, and has been made possible by a very, very, very kind person. Big fan of the channel, and we are a big fan of them for helping us do it, which we'll be able to tell you about a little bit more in a couple of weeks. But if you want to support the channel, head to patreon.com/transevolved, or you can send us Bitcoin, or you can send us a Ko-fi, or you can buy some swag like this t-shirt from our swag store, or You can just become a YouTube. People want us to start doing more trips like this. They want us to start doing, you know, more events and appearances. But all of this costs money. I mean, this car was like a couple of $100. I think it's actually, they've taken like 500 for 2 days worth of rental. I'll get some of that back. But trips cost money, and YouTube content creation takes quite a bit of time, effort and money. So if you can support the channel, please do. I'm going to say goodbye now and concentrate on enjoying the beautiful scenery. I'm sure Michael would rather not have his hands above his head. So thanks for joining me. Keep evolving. Then you hit